Other times we like to ask it when the appropriate slide comes up, but if you feel like you're running out of slides, then just tell us to hold on, and then we'll ask the questions towards the end so that people can leave around about 5 o'clock, or if they have to go to some other meetings.
Yeah, sure. We are control the time. So, well, AI change the governance forever. In this part of the world, in Latin America, when people listen the word governance, they think they don't mean something good. They mean run bureaucracy, government, and a long of time. But the mission is to change this concept. So governance is no longer about controlling data, but governance is about right now to enabling trusted AI. So governance needs a change of mindset of all of us. So we are prepared this as a theater. So this is the second and the third call. And the first act, we have the new reality. As we said, governance is no longer about controlling the data, but governance is about enabling trusted AI. Well, which one is the governance gap? When this reminds me, makes me remember when internet arrives to the world, when the digital transformation arrives to the world, and right now when AI arrives to the world. In all of these times, in all of these periods and phases, many companies begin right now. We have to buy a tool of digital, a tool of digital transformation, and they also look for IT director, so the CIO, to buy what you need to buy. And this occurs, and I think that this is changing in many parts of the world, but Latin America has the opportunity to change more because we find a gap. So 88% invest and use AI at least at one function. 46 capture some value, and in LATAM, it's only 23%. These KPIs, we have brought it from Gartner, McKinsey, and all the business consultants that we can define. Only 24% managed to scale model to production. When you talk about these numbers, we can see that something is happening. Something happens here because we begin with a lot of satisfaction, a lot of pressure, but then sometimes we don't know what to do to make value about AI. And the final number, only 1% reaches full maturity and extracts sustained value. And why? Why is that? Because this race, this word that many people say is not governance. Probably because they don't understand the real value of it. Because in this part of the world, we want everything so fast. And can we do it in one shot? Is what we heard of many people. So what I used to say to my clients, to my customers is, technology is like magic. You have all the tools what you want, but first of all, you have to see your business. We need to see our business in a deeply way. So we need to find what is the opportunity, what is the problem, what is that situation in my process, in my information that we need to put faster and change mindset and what other things to do to increase this value. This pipeline is really not satisfaction. So, well, Howard.
Yes, I wanted to ask a question on the previous slide, and I suppose I was a little bit confused in terms of they capture some business value, 46%, but nothing is in production. So is that 46% or the difference between 46 and 24, almost being 22%, is that sort of using things like Claude or Gen AI and nothing's really in production? That's what it's sort of saying there, that they're getting some value, but nothing is in production.
They get some value. It means that they solve some situations in the company. Not only using Gen AI or Claude or the others or ChatGPT. So it means to advance a little bit more, more realistic.
Okay, so they've moved nothing. They don't have any. So only 24% have got the models in production, and then the 46% or the difference between 46 and 24 is people that are using it in an ad hoc fashion. There's no control. There's no management of it. It's just people using it, in a way they want to use it. Is that the correct understanding?
This difference is because this situation, you can see the difference between these three numbers. This is the mean of the the reason is not to use the governance. What does governance means in this situation? First of all, people prepared, professionals that really have the knowledge of what AI means. AI doesn't mean download Cloud, download ChatGPT, and do all your questions. That's not AI value. That's the
Okay.
first of all. Then the AI literacy, the AI leader. In this case, in this situation, when you begin some new work, new project, new solution, new frameworks in the companies, in the business, the leader is the one that is an explorer. The leader needs to advance, need to learn as soon he or she advances.
Right.
He or she may make failures, may fail, but in that fail, they learn. But this leadership is very important to be brave, to make all the people continue. And that's why sometimes we think that we see AI as pure technology, and that's a wrong concept.
Okay.
So
thank you.
Okay. So what we change in this moment or the last moment, we are controlling data about the data governance. No, the data governance means to govern static assets in the repository, and the objective is to raise walls to restrict access, ensure compliance. If you go, you talk with some people of in many companies, the people that this compliance official, they close the walls to avoid problems. So because of the fear, because of the of the situations that occur right now with the cybersecurity, and not only that, no, we will see that there is another factor, another thing that that becomes from the business. So we have to change our mindset and our job and our things that we have to do. We will change many things to enabling a good AI, a trusty, a confidence AI, so people can feel that it is good. So govern active entities that move, learn, and act on their own. This is this is a goal. This is what we need. Now, here the concept is to control the data, and this is continue a goal here in this part of the world, because if you see the KPIs of investment in data governance, you will see that there is a lot of millions in data governance, but there is a lot of millions in infrastructure of data governance, in tools, but not exactly in people who make governance. We know many companies here, but big companies that really have introduced data governance and in their own, in their mindset, and they are right now introducing AI governance, beginning to introduce AI governance in their mindset and in their business too. So the basis right now and the basis forever is the data, the process, and the risk. Sometimes I have talked with some pupils and say, and they get confused about data and information. So we have many opportunities to solve many situations here, to teach all the people, to evangelize about the value of the data. The data is the little concept. Information is the second concept. So, well, maybe you will find that here is something missing that completes this situation, this basis, that is the people. The people in the AI concept is really, really completely necessary. Eli.
Thanks, Marita. Thanks, Howard. In effect, this is a special thing. For me, it's a pleasure to stay here with you. Thanks for the
Thank you.
invitation, Marita. And I love to collaborate with you in this kind of things. We are in this premise on Act Two. Okay, LATAM should not not simply. It's a simple market. It's a difficult market. No, it's a market that adopts innovation. Yes, of course. No, and it's intentional to say as an innovation labs, because we are going to know why we are an innovation labs. We are going to see in this part across mining, banking, healthcare, and education. We have real constraints in this part of the world. No, starting from limited resources to fragmentation systems. No, and these constraints are forcing us to innovate differently and faster too. And this is not especially a constraint. We think this is an important opportunity for us to turn LATAM constraints into a source of innovation. No, and this is the part that we are going to see you to show you about this. Can you imagine the kind of productivity that we can figure out The adoption in Latin America could increase, of course. According to Marita, we're using a lot of AI here, but we are building AI? That's the question. Maybe we can generate more than 1.7 billion of dollars in additional economical value each year, no? And here is a special side of our country, okay? And we are going to we need to show you that first, our demographic weight, it's maybe less than, I think, approximately 10% of the global population, okay? And our AI advice investment is near of 1%. Here we have a special gap. Instead, our web-based AI usage is like 15%. It's this slide captures one of the biggest paradox of LATAM AI journey, I think. You know, we consume a lot, but we don't invest. Finally, about if we are talking of integration APIs, the use of models, the consume of models about through APIs, it's near of 22% versus the global average that it's 26%. Okay, the ratio represents this. It's the consumption is moving much faster than a structural investment. Okay, this is the paradox. It's already. The real question here is we can turn that adoption into infrastructure, according to Marita. No, we can turn this that adoption to capabilities, data, and innovation that create lasting economic value for the region. We think yes. And here we have a gap, no, a gap between this enthusiasm, okay, and the real economical value. First, we have the price. The price is this potential economic value that we can win. But the paradox is adoption, of course. What does this mean for LATAM? No, the AI Intelligence Index, of course, is an index created in Chile and with an organization called CEPAL here, and give us a regional reality check. And it's important to know these results because it looks at 19 countries, no, across 3 dimensions: enabling factors, AI development and adoption, and finally the governance. And the message here is we have an enormous AI potential, of course, no, but on the other hand, we have a significant structural gaps remain, particularly infrastructure, data, and specialized talent, according to Marita. No, Marita said we need not more tools using. We need more people developing this resources, governance, and infrastructure, of course. And why these 4 sectors? Okay, because they capture 2 of LATAM's most important transformation priorities. First, economic growth, of course, and the social impacts. And in our case, for example, mining represents near of 10% of GDP, okay, directly. But in with the sectors related or the services related with mining, we need to include more than 15 GDP percent. One of This mining and banking are critical to our region engine. Mining is our central to export investment and productivity across several Latin American economies, of course. And banking is fundamental to financial inclusion, economical activity, and to expand these digital services. And in the other hand, we have two sectors that are very important because they represent this social impact. We are talking about healthcare and education, and represent in the other side of the equation the human development, of course. They are sectors that we better use of data and AI can directly improve the access. We are talking about personalization. We are talking about efficiency. We are talking about the quality of services that we can change. And these first sections give us a very representative view of LATAM, and where the region is creating economic value, of course, and where it needs to create social value. If we talk about mining, let's start with mining. For us, for some countries of our region, a critical of engine of Latin American economy, and when operations are these assets intensive, and the inefficiency becomes extremely expensive, and we are going to have some problems like unplanned downtimes, reactive maintenance, rising energy costs, and safety risks. And absolutely, these points are going to impact in the productivity and profitability of our companies that invest in this part of the region. AI creates a different opportunity here in this sector. It's going to combine sensors, operational data, predictive models to anticipate equipment's failures, optimize the consume of energy, that it's an important part of the budget of cars, and reduce the human exposures to these difficult environments. Okay, for Latam, it's more than an operational opportunity. For us, we think it's a competitiveness opportunity. Here, if we see this is normal, the reactive status quo, and what does this transformation look like this in practice? Today, mining it operates reactively. Equipment fails, operations stop, teams diagnostic and repairs all the time, working in reactive mode. The future is different. Here, for example, it's a team that I loved. The AIoT is the combine of AI using the IoT sensors to work together for this sector. For this, I think it's for the assets intensive sectors, like mining, and we can connect sensing, prediction, and action. And the sensors capture this condition continuously, predicts failures in the case of AI, and before they happen, Here we have three cases. In the case of Anglo American Chile, it has achieved more than 15% of improvement in mineral recovery using AI models, in the plant. In this case, they use digital twins and predictive meteorological intelligence in their plants. In the case of BHP, in Chile too, this in Minera Escondida is one of the operating sites that they have, and they can save more than 3 gigaliters of water. Okay, and finally, here in Peru, of course, Peru, we have the case of Hochschild, that has achieved more than 1.5% increasing in gold and silver recovery, no? Through machine learning, optimization, flotation, and grinding in real time, okay? And it's important this point because AI is not simply making mining smarter, okay? It's changing the operating model. It's including in the ADN of the operating model of the sector, no? Starting from reactive maintenance to proactive orchestration, no? And in ultimately autonomous operation, of course, no? We have this case, health. Healthcare is another powerful example, of course. No, why LATAM needs to rethink how to use data and AI. In effect, we have critical inefficiency here. No, the challenge is not just a technology that it's fragmented. No, it's reactive. No, with a significant burden and between near than 30% of healthcare spending, no, can be absorbed by administrative inefficiencies. No, AI can help us. No, not by replacing clinicals or augmenting them. No, of course not. They can support. They can support the triage. They can identify risk earlier than reducing administrative workload, of course. And this means more than cost efficiency. No, this means it means expanding the capacity of and quality of care under resource constraint. Of course, this opportunity, we think it's an opportunity to rethink the passion and clinical journey around intelligence. No, we are going to talk about this the sector, the health. No, this network because it includes medical services, include clinicals, include pharmacies, groceries, etc. No? The real opportunity in healthcare is to move from episodic within reactive care to continuous prevention, no? To create the new model of continuous prevention. Here we are really seeing this shift across LATAM, no? For example, in this case, we have two examples, no? We have the Albert Einstein Hospital. It's using AI for smarter triage and predictive alerts, no? Jana, it's a startup from Mexico. In the case of Jana, it provides powered emotional support all day. No, and Rimac, we know closely, of course. Rimac in Peru is using data analytics to anticipate health risk and promote prevention in this new wellness mode. No, wellness mode, preventing. No, and for LATAM, that means better care, no, earlier intervention and greater access under resource constraints again, no. And here, I love this. Sorry, the education sector, no, and the education sector, we think this mode of one size fits all, no, absolutely wrong, no, absolutely wrong. Our education here in this part of the globe reveals one of the biggest AI paradoxes, no. Students are already ahead of institutions, no. More than 80% of students are using AI for their studies, while formal curricular integration remains minimal. It's incredible, no? And this is the rise of the shallow AI in education. I think and we need to remark this, the shallow AI in education, no? Because students already are adopting this, no? By institutions
Ellie, there's a question from Howard.
Yes, of course.
Sorry, I was sorry. I didn't want to interrupt you. It seems like you're really passionate about this area.
Yes.
And I think we're finding lots of challenges in terms of the students are using the tools, but the lecturers and the professors are not happy with them using the tool. In terms of they see it as AI generating all of this information, and the students not really learning in that situation. And I suppose we have to rework how we educate our kids, our students using AI. I don't know if you have any experience or how are you convincing the staff to change the way in which they view the use of AI?
Yes, yes. We are going to respond, I think, in the next slide, but I can anticipate
Okay.
something. It's inevitable, okay? The AI is here. The students are using it, and the students are using this kind of tools every day, no? And working, reading resumes, doing resumes. We have a lot of use cases about, and we can see to the other way. We need to complement, okay, our curricula, okay, and we need to complement our curricula to exploit this new capability and to stay so close to these guys, learning them how to use it in responsible mode. In responsible mode. We are going to talk more about this in the next slide, maybe. Yeah.
Okay.
And here, for example, in this part, of course, the chief is from us that detects too late, to one time anticipates risk and personalize the learning. No, we already have evidence on how this can work. For example, in this case, Tecnológico de Monterrey, it's an important institution in Mexico, use AI and predictive models to identify students and risk of dropping out early and trigger academic support before the problem becomes critical. Okay, in early times, they can do more actions, with the student and with the family too, And in the case of Peru, for example, we have an institution called UTEC, and follows a similar approach with early warning system that enables tutors to intervene proactively to these guys in the first months of the career. And in this case, Khan Academy, through a protocol Khan Mingo, use generative AI to provide conversational tutoring and explain mistakes and deliver individualized support at scale. And we are a pilot in our country. They have a pilot here working in our country, Peru, and together, this case show the evolution. Predict the risk of drop, for example, intervene early, and find and personalize learning at scale, and we are doing. According with you, we need to how we can ensure that the student is learning. It's a change of mode of the teachers. It's a change of mode of the teachers. And if we see the last sector, for example, in the case of banking, the case of banking.
Sorry, Eliana, Will Evans have a question, please.
Oh, sorry. Thanks, Marita.
Hi, Eliana. I'm finding this very interesting. One of the big challenges we run into with education, and it depends on whether you're talking first world, second world, etc. First world is really run by the professors and run by those institutions, and they have their syllabus and their curricula, their outcomes, their promises to the market in terms of what they're going to deliver, what a person will be like by the time they've completed their training and all the rest of it. For them, they need to have a lot of control in terms of what happens. When you talk about third world, I think you're right. There's an opportunity to say, we don't have to be stuck in this curriculum and the etc. We can step out and actually allow this relationship between AI and the students to develop. My question is then, how would you train up somebody to have, for example, an MBA that would work in the UK, which is first world and has that very structured way of thinking? How would you be able to compare these two in such a way that the person could actually go and work in that country and be accepted?
So, yes, it's different. For example, when we start in early times, in the first grade, in the higher education, or in the case of university education. No, in the case of how to ensure that uh, they can adapt to these fixed structures, and the students more optimism, working and using a lot of these tools, for example, and they crash with this reality. I work with several universities here in Peru. They have three line of practices. The first is the academic, of course. The academic includes the curricular plan, and they are trying to incorporate to this curricular plan, new contents, according with this, and the firm to evaluate the students is changing too. The second stage is about research. Research is critical, and the AI run more speed than us, and in the case of research, it's going in one hand, we have a spectacular tool that helps the researchers to do much better research. But in the other hand, we are seeing some disruption in copyrights, etc. And it's other kind of challenge too. In the third line, it's employability. The employability is important, and here we have different tools according this ecosystem that we need to develop in these institutions, And of course, according to your question, it's going to be a crash in these three lines, in these three lines. But the systems are adaptive, I think the students are going to do some strong pressure to adapt the structural system, and institutions, in the other hand, are going to be the actions. They are going to take the actions to preserve the integrity of their mission, I think. Thank you so much.
No, pleasure. Thanks a lot.
Thanks. And according with examples in the case of banking, banking it's a sector most developed in terms of digital adoption. Of course, we have different digital channels. The points of contact with the banks are changing, of course, across the globe. No, and banking is moving from slow retrospective and process to intelligence, real time, and interactions. No, we have three cases here. No, first one is Galicia. Is an Argentinian bank. No, that applies NPL to know your customer, KYC, no? And the onboarding process, of course, and processing corporate files in minutes instead of 20 days. This is not for retail, this is for corporate banking. And with around more than 20 of accuracy, turning a highly manual process into an automated one, no? We have other one that it's BCP in Peru. It's the principal bank here in Peru with more than 10 millions of users, of clients, no, clients accounts, and shows how data AI and predictive analytics can scale digital banking through Yape. Yape, it's a wallet, no, that it's increasing digital adoption while reducing manual processes and approaches cost, no. And they prepare several products to this point of contact, to this channel. No, they prepared a massive products, especially to this kind of users. No, and they use not only the transactional information, they use the environmental information, the context information that the users are sharing across the interaction with the wallet. No. And finally, new bank in Brazil use predictive scoring and intelligence retention to optimize support, achieving more than 13% of reduction in operating cost. No, and they are doing more than 10% of higher retention of the principal clients, no? And we can see in these cases, together these cases show the evolution, no? From processing transactions only to anticipating needs and delivering hyper-personalized financial services, no? Here is the paradox, no? What we have seen across these industries, that AI is not simply digitalize existing processes. It's changing how value is created. No, we have an old model, reactive, fragmented, manual. Do you remember the first slide? We are talking about the constraints. And with LATAM pressure, the volatility, the resource constraints, the scale pressure, the diverse needs, of course, and faster decisions to this new model. No, the new model is predictive, is connected, is automated, is personalized, is in real time. And with these elements, we can create new kind of value, and LATAM volatility, resource constraints, and diverse needs are pushing organization from reactive mode, fragmented mode, to this new mode, and the real shift is from reacting to events to preventing, orchestrating, and acting earlier. And we think that AI becomes the orchestrator layer connecting data, decisions, and actions, and turning, and this message is very important. You remember, we are the innovation lab. We are the innovation lab because we need to be the innovation lab. We need to be the innovation lab, turning these LATAM constraints into an innovation advantage. Finally,
Sorry.
Again, sorry.
Yes, of course.
We will have a question.
So one of the things that's very strong in your first world countries is the legal side, where there's a lot of opportunity for people to sue companies to, if they step sideways or whatever the case is, something goes wrong. There's major challenges in terms of that. In a third world country, certainly I'm thinking more South Africa, there's a lot less opportunity to take people to court for everything that's going wrong, right? Do you find that one of the reasons you have a lot more flexibility is because there isn't that kind of secondary income that every company has, where they can sell you a product, but they can also sue you.
Can you repeat the last part? Sorry.
Yeah. So what I find in a lot of companies in your first world countries, they have their products that they sell and the things that they do, but they also have a legal arm, and that legal side is all about how can we make money by suing as many people as we can. Now, when you get mistakes made, you get an opportunity to sue, right? To actually claim a whole bunch of money from people because they did something wrong. In a third world country, you tend to have less of that around because people are just trying to get on with doing what they're trying to get on with. Do you find that in the Latin American side, you have less of the companies trying to take each other to court and more of them just trying to get by and do what's right?
Oh yes. We have other pressure. We are going to talk about this in the next section, but we have a law related with regulatory mode and the legal mode. We have new laws here, especially in our country, across America in different stage of maturity, okay? But in our country we have a strong reality according with the laws that support here the AI. I think it's well. No, it's well because it's forcing us to work in a responsible mode. And with the according to your question, the companies are working with these constraints in a context, in a regulated context too, and with slow capabilities of talent. No, for us, it's a very difficult mission to know to develop this capability, and normally we access to our countries. For example, and if we say what are going to be the principal obstacles, I think first the invest capability, of course. Second, we don't have enough talent to this kind of challenge. And third, we are working in a regulatory context that's strong. And for you, for example, if you are trying to deploy some products in our country, I think it's going to be a good challenge, but do you need to know in detail this fits and gaps, I think, for do it. I don't know if this it's according with your question, but
well, the answer is insightful, so that's helpful in another area. I think the jury is out in terms of what's going to happen between the different countries when they start to try and trade across, whether how. For example, you've got GDPR and you've got POPIA, right? POPIA is not as strong as GDPR, but we have to work together. And I'm thinking that there will be some kind of aspect in the AI space that allows for different countries to have different levels of AI involvement. Certainly in a third world country, you can get away with a lot more than you can in a first world country. That's just a fact.
Yes, totally agree with you. Yes, of course. And for example, in the case of GDP, mining is more than 10% in our country, and 20 and 18% more including the services related. In the case of education, 5 points more, no? Salute, health, the same, and banking, including these four sectors, we are talking about near 40 or 45 GDP, total GDP of our country, no? Maybe in the other countries are going to be some differences, not, but maybe it's going to, it can help you, this data can help you to recognize more our landscape, no? Finally, in this point, in effect, no, the power of AI in Latin America lies not in its adoption, no, but it's an strategic integration to leapfrog development and redefine this regional competitiveness. No, for us, I think this is our challenge. That the challenge that we need to develop. Marita,
Yes,
continues.
we have the actress of the theater. So how is the future of governance? How do what I have heard? How do we solve all these situations that you have mentioned? Well, governance is not an stopper, as some people think as today, but governance could be a really accelerator. And governance in this case means, in this case, in the other, in many cases, means orchestrate, holistic, to move on, to gather people, gather solutions, gather knowledge in order to make advance, may continue the disruption. So we have, first of all, proof of concept. Then we have governance of something trust. And doing this road that mean I can mention very simple, but this can take sometimes. In some companies, this time will be very short, depending on the culture of the company. And in another ones, this could be more longer. For instance, in our company, we have implement a second brain, Cyclus second brain, a strategic brain, some brain for our solutions, for our methodologies. And first of all, we made a proof of concept. Then we begin to grow in order to make some proof with the stakeholders. And then right now we are not in production yet, but we are going to that part. Learning in each step. That's one of the biggest things. In this time that the tool is here. And as soon as we advance, the thing that function here is that move is the people, is the the collaboration, cooperation, the feedback of the stakeholders. And that's what we are doing to do this in production and learning. And around this learning, we can take another tool too. But beginning of the learning, beginning with a situation, beginning with what is the solution, but what we need to build. So, well, this is in Spanish. The pipeline of productions means a change of strategy and change of mindset. 60% of the big companies have at least one AI project in production. 23% reports an impact, and only 6% reports value creation about the solution and can scale it. This is what LATAM will say. And the challenge in LATAM is to not only adopt technology, to move from that mindset that means technology is all, and technology with data, with process, with people, including the risk, including the cybersecurity, will make the AI completely possible. So the purpose of the governance is changing from data governance to automated system decision governance, or maybe robot governance. So what we see up to date is data governance. Please move. Tiene una animación, Eliana. Data governance, that we have databases, quality, privacy, and this is something missing. If you see, we have data business. We have data business in the data governance. For me, for our framework, the data governance do not begin with databases. Data governance begin with creating the data, beginning from the business. Information governance, that means documents, that mean the KPIs, that mean the knowledge, and that mean also the information assets that we have to take care. And the digital governance not only means the APIs, the cybersecurity, but the digital business as well. So this is what we see now. And you know, in all the parts, I have put some factors, some pressure, some part of the business, because the business moves all of this. So to enable trusted intelligence to decide and act, we need, as we said, people, data, processes, security, risk, compliance. So there is something very important here. We move from data governance to AI governance, but it means that data governance do not die. Data governance is part of the AI governance. And something that I used to say to all my customers is that the process is the vehicle, the part that move, that get the flow of the data. So the process and the data move as well. So this is a simple picture about what AI governance can mean to have good challenges, to accept and get to those challenges, to move this pipeline that we saw before. Howard?
Yeah, I mean, I like what you're saying in terms of AI governance needs data governance, and I get the feeling that it also needs corporate governance, and it needs records or information governance, information management. So I think part of the challenges we're seeing is sometimes AI governance feels that they can do it on their own, but they're actually more dependent on all of the different areas coming together. So previously we can operate in silos, but I think with AI we can no longer afford to do that.
Yeah, sure, because that's the big change. That's the disruption. Because up to the the digital transformation, what I used to say business digital transformation, we needed to work together, but we continue on silos in some companies. But right now with this revolution, AI revolution, we really need to have good process across the company. We need to know my data. We need to know my business as well, very good, very deeply. And sometimes one of the things that we see and we we share is that we need people more intelligent than the artificial intelligence. We need people to advance, to study, to get knowledge faster than this one. Because what we need to do is to partner with AI. We should not delegate AI to my functions. Will?
So I agree with you in terms of the partnering part. I don't think that we're going to learn faster than AI, but I do think that we have something AI doesn't have. We've got intuition, right? Something inside us tells us something is wrong. There's nothing that you can base it on. There's no kind of data that you can look at that tells you that something is wrong, but something inside you says there's something wrong here. And I think that's what human beings can bring to this. And I think one of the problems we've got is schools don't teach it. People don't know how to listen to that inner self saying something's not right. And then what do they do with it? There's no business processes allowing them to step in and say, I have a concern, but I cannot put my finger on it just yet. This is a world that we've got to develop people into. Otherwise, because AI is going to do the knowledge thing far better than we can ever do, right? But what AI cannot do, that's the part that we've got to develop amongst people.
Good. Thank you, Will. What I mean to learn faster is to learn how to manage the AI, because I used to learn every day with AI, but looking specifically the way I have to learn. How do I ask to the really certain documents to learn? But what we have to learn is AI management, not only business AI management. We have to learn personal AI management. This is really the biggest change of mindset that I have seen in my life. We have I think the obligation to do it, because the power of AI is to do some things so good, but things so bad, so terrible things as well. So that's the way we said. I say we have to learn more. We have to learn how to. We have to learn this new industrial revolution. This get a new way to work with robots, with AI, and the real situation, the real mean is to partner with AI. So I have to partner. When I have a partner, I have to teach him. I have to make that they do what I need. No, but I have to give the rules correct. That rules is what I need to learn. That's what I mean. Thank you, Will.
I think you're right there. I think one of the things that we use is this human in the loop. And we often say, yes, we need human in the loop, but I don't know how much of that we've quantified to say what are the skills that you need to have to be a human in the loop. And I think that's what you're saying, right?
Sure,
Yeah.
that is. Sure. Go on, please.
Thank you, Marita. And according with the regulation, the landscape of and the compliant landscape of regulation is changing. Here, for example, we have the European Union, the AI Act. It's one of the reference, of course, for us. Always, always, always. And it, this regulation is not no longer a distance policy issue. Of course, no, it's becoming business requirement globally. No, we can see different approaches. Of course, no, the the AI Act is establishing a strict risk-based framework. Of course, no. In the same mode, I think, UNESCO, OCT, and the US empathize responsible and trustworthy AI, including this kind of laws, the UNIST, etc. In the case of Peru and the Andean region, we are according with the AI Act, we are working on all that is risk-based framework 2, a strict risk-based framework 2. And we launched the law promoting ethical transparency, fairness, and this kind of principles that we need to establish in our companies. In the same time, for use and for development, development, and regulations approved the last year, and in the case of LATAM, the countries are now translating these principles into their own laws, guidelines and roadmaps, For companies, for example, the challenge is no longer simply adopting AI, but doing so with governance, accountability, and compliance built in from the start. According to William, in the last question, what's the time of the human in the loop? It depends. It depends. For example, in the case, in our law, in the case of Peru, we have three kind of risks, the low risk and the indefinite use risk, In the case of the indefinite use or a strong risk, okay, in the cases of a strong risk, is absolutely necessary the human in the loop, We are talking about medical diagnostics. We are talking about for example, the control of fraud when we are using data of if you are a woman or you are a man, for example, to give you to approve a credit, the gender include the gender data in the it is not appropriate, it depends of which is the decision that you are taking. If the decision is according with the strong risk, and the law has different value trees, the decision trees according with the level of risk. In the stronger risk, it's absolutely necessary to including human in the loop. In which role it depends too, in the decision mode, maybe, in the explainability mode, maybe, because that normally some models don't have explainability at the core, some ones yes, but other ones no, and maybe you need to know to have a role involved to know how to explain these decisions, science the model, converting the core decisions of the model in different dashboards or different, for example, in one company, some months ago, they need to explain some model that have an explanation, because this kind of model is one of the, it's a black box of model, no? And we need to develop this explanation, and we need to include some roles, some human in the loop, no, that can explain this kind of information if we are being auditing, maybe, or maybe we have some points of control, no, etc. And the challenge is no longer simply adopting AI. The challenge is doing how this governance, accountability, and compliance build in from the start. No. Go ahead, Marita.
Howard has a question.
Yes.
Yeah, I like your example with explainability, and I feel more and more that we're going to actually have to use things like chatbots and AI models to help people understand the decisions, because if you look at an anomaly detection routine, and you're using many different techniques, when the data comes back and they say, well, we don't think it's a good idea, but to actually make sense of the outputs of the model is not easy. And so I think we actually need to have models to help our people understand and explain.
Totally agree. And it's important. It's very important because since this year, on September, for example, we are going to start doing interventions in some sectors. The first sectors are health, banking, security, and the first task is first categorizate, is doing the first classification of the model risks in these three types, no, low and so strong. And in the case of so strong, they need to explain to the auditors exactly what are the decisions they are taking on. No, and it's very interesting. No, the next year, for example, is going to be other sectors until 2028. No, and I think we are lucky because we have this law here in Peru, and we have some guides. Inclusive, we have the name is a technical law based on ISO 2002. Exactly, this one. No, and we have not only the law and the principles and the key lines, we have the technical law to apply. No, and this is the point of start, of course. No, and the governance, according to Marita, this law must adding talent, adding processes, adding the control of risk, adding the governance. It's a good combine to start doing this journey to scale AI in our companies. Totally agree with you, Howard.
Well, Howard,
Thank you.
Do we have time? Because I think it's.
I think we've run out of time.
Okay.
I don't know if you maybe like to wrap it. I think this is a nice thing to wrap up with, in terms of it's nice to see this. If you could talk to this slide, it would be great.
Well,
yes.
¿Puedes retroceder, Eli? No, la otra.
Nice.
Yeah. Well, the inflection point of AI governance, the fracture metrics, the point of break that we said, how do we do? Up to date, or up to some days, we can say in Latin America, up to date, we mean governance we say data governance, information governance, digital governance. Here, we still have some challenges, okay? And right now, we have to grow up. We have a law too. We have a lot of meetings. Right now, we have the political opportunity, and we have to use this time to um, increase our knowledge to grow as a country using AI and really have a good AI governance of as a model and algorithms via the hallucinations, the explainability, the ethics. That is something that this is the time of compliance too. The areas of compliance in the companies are so concerned about AI. The areas of data, that data protection rules are very strong here. So that's something good, no, to protect our data. And AI, if we do not govern AI correctly, we can open some channels to lose data.
Mm.
So that's what we try to say. That I try to say, we have to learn. No, I'm sorry.
Fantastic. Mm.
And then, what means the new intelligence? First of all, this is something very important. We do not delegate our thinking, our reasoning to AI. We make them accompany us. I know that all the people that we have experimented, for instance, Claude, we have seen a lot of very good things, but it continues to be a tool. What I used to say to my clients, uh, technology is a set of very magic tools. If you can imagine something, you have all the tools that you want, but the AI is a tool with some time of reasoning. So that's why we need another type of management, another way of management. So for me, it's another master, another MBA,
Yeah.
and that's right. So the concept, the change of mindset is this. No, we have to work with the AI as a partner. So we need the
Yeah.
accountability is us, it's not of the AI. The automated decisions, no, the explainability, because there are some things that the AI write and write and write, and something sometimes as I said, we work very fast here in this part of the world. We do not read some line, and maybe in that line there is something that is not good, and that's AI. So we have to have the time to read with that what my assistant of my partner is doing,
Yeah.
and I have to teach my partner to do that. No, the risks are growing up. The risk but the risk right now is very high, but I have to learn how to mitigate that risk. And then this is the first part of the AI governance that means a lot. So in the second part, we have the autonomous governance. We mean the agentic AI. The agentic AI, this is one step more. And we need to do this lesson, then to pass to this new lesson. And it's very important to have this one to enjoy of these situations that we can do many other things with my partner. So here are the six new objects. I will say it fast. the AI models, I think that Eli have explained many of them. The algorithms, we have to design, we have to know which algorithm is the good one, no? The automated decisions, the proof of concepts, it have to be very certain. So proof, we have to follow all the automated decisions because at the time, the AI will work with the data that we have fit, but the business change. So maybe if we do not, if we do not teach them how we have changed, how the businesses change, the AI, the agentic will give us some decisions that are not good for the time. So that's part of our governance. The autonomous agents. In some situations, in some moments, we have to create data, but we have to create data with our criteria, no, with our conditions, and being take care of the quality, the lineage. I used to say to my customers that used to be the people of the business, lineage in a IT world means data life cycle in the business world. It's the same. To do them some easy way to learn data. The digital ecosystems. This is a challenge because sometimes the IT guys talk a lot of API, and sometimes the people of business does not understand. So I used to have the homework to teach them what is an API and what is the simple concept of the API. Well, Eliana, because how to reverse the situation, I will do it more fast or faster. Sorry for that. It's emotion. Avanza, Eli. Well, we have to reverse the numbers. And really, the most, if we have to say something, priority, people, the organization, culture, technical, we have a lot of tools, no? We have a lot of we will use this correctly if we prepare and we prepare talent, we move talent. The people really want to learn. The people really want to use this phase of the life, but we have to teach them how to do it. Well, I think that the success formula is the AI literacy, integrated leadership, no silos anymore, responsible leadership. I think a brave leadership, people that says, I am the leader. If I made a mistake, I will say that is my mistake. And you know that we can innovate, we can disrupt only accepting and learning about our mistakes, and learning. So go on, Eli. So to have the real AI governance, to have to accept this challenge and to begin and to be good, we need people, data, processes, security, risk, compliance, maybe things that before and the another life we didn't see, or we see it a little bit, but governance is no longer something about controlling, something about a bad word for many people. Governance is the difference to have a bad AI and an AI with no implementation, no value, and the difference to be a good AI that gives value to the world.
Thanks, Marita. Here is our belief. Our belief is we don't need more technology. We need more leadership that's going to construct confidence with the companies, and with the institutions, and with the ecosystem. In this case, we ultimately, the journey from AI adoption to value creation requires more than technology. It requires leadership, discipline, and trust. First, the organizations need the right foundation, the quality data, governance, and infrastructure. It's very, very important. About the second point, they must focus investment on the AI use cases that solve real business problems, and generate measurable value, because with these investments, we are going to do first create value and then expand and scale the solutions across the company. Third, they need to redesign operating models and customer journeys. We said that in health, we said that in banking, we said that in education. It's very, very important. It's not one size to fit all. We need to hyper personalize the journeys, moving from reactive and manual processes toward predictive, connected, and AI enabled models. Fourth, they must build the people capabilities and responsible AI practices, to be prepared to stay in the loop, that create trust and accelerate adoption. Finally, leaders need to prepare for the next frontier, the autonomous AI agents, with clear accountability, orchestration, and control. Here, the real competitive advantage will come from turning AI into sustainable trust and scalable value. And I don't know if you, sorry, because it's in Spanish, but if you read the text of Matt Shammer, Matt Shammer, this starting this year, I think, they published some texts about AI, and in this part, I adjust his phrase, and we are living through a transformative technological era, which demands governance, adaptation, and action. I think these three words, the governance is our plus. It's our plus. I'm going to send this this adaptation, and we are living through a technological shift that goes far beyond adopting new tools. AI is changing how organizations operate, make decisions, and create value. And this governance to manage risk, adaptation to redesign how we work, and action to turn technology into measurable impact is going to be the correct recipe to do it. Thanks. That's all.
Thank you.
Thank you, Howard. This is our LinkedIn contact and our mail if you need to contact us. We are very, very happy to stay here with you. And that's it. I don't know, Marita, if you want to say something?
Well, I want to say thank you very much. As usual, I feel here with Howard and family of the Dama and Modelware, and that there here some family. I feel very, very comfort, and as I am at home. So thank you very much for your patience,
Thank you
for accepting us, and we are in another part of the world, but the digital business and the AI makes a contact in 1 second. So we are here to.
Fantastic.
We are here for you.
Thank you.
Thank you very
Thank you
much.
so much. Thank you,
Thank you so
for
much.
everything.
Thank you.
Really appreciate it. Just any questions before we close? William, I know you've got lots of questions. Anyone else? Johan, you raised quite a few comments about education. Is there a final comment that you'd like to summarize?
Yeah, I think for me, and thank you very much to the presenters. I really found this very insightful. I think we have two curriculums we have to drive in terms of governance, and they have to be very dynamic. The one is how do we educate our AI solutions so that they can become industrialized? So how do we get them to the required level of maturity where we can trust them? And on the other side is, I think you've hinted at that in the education part of the presentation, is we need to rethink how we educate our users to use AI, because I think sometimes we have no clue. We have to really think outside the box. But thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Fantastic.
On that second one, I think what we need to do is we need to tell users you are raising a child and you are responsible and accountable for what your child does. And I think if we use this parent-child relationship, it'll help a long way to making people realize, you know what, this thing can throw a tantrum, it can do all sorts of stuff. I'm going to have to really understand the consequences of what I'm doing and how I'm doing it, whether I should do it. And maybe some analogy like that is a starting point to going down the road you're talking about.
Totally.
Yeah.
Yeah, totally agree with you. Totally agree.
Fantastic. Great. Thanks.
I just want to make a comment, Howard. This is probably one of the longest that we've ever had, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But if you have a look